All right, time for our political plays of the week. Michael Cook, our Democrat analyst, and political consultant John Gilmore is here on the Republican side, and we're going to talk about the historic summit in Singapore that's coming up tomorrow. Before we get into that, I want to show you guys what happened at a White House trade advisory and what they said about the Canadian Prime Minister at the G7 summit. Justin Trudeau announced tariffs against the U.S.
There's a special place in hell for any foreign leader that engages in bad faith diplomacy with President Donald J. Trump and then tries to stab him in the back on the way out the door. And that's what bad faith Justin Trudeau did with that stunt press conference.
Michael, special place in hell.
Thought, you can't believe the Trump White House on anything nowadays. First of all, I think this makes Trump look weak heading into the meeting with the North Korean leader. Here he is. Basically, he's isolated from the rest of our allies. We're literally saying horrible things about the Canadian Prime Minister. The country of Canada is our closest ally, but yet we're saying nice things about the North Korean dictator, calling him an honorable man. That just kind of shows that Trump really has no strategy, just sort of flailing around, trying to make it up as he goes along. Basically, our allies are mad, are not happy with Trump because he's saying nice things about Vladimir Putin. He's trying to get Vladimir Putin back into the G7, but of course he was kicked out years ago for annexing the Crimea. So heading into this meeting with the North Korean leader, he looks weak, he looks isolated. It's not where we need to be heading into this historic summit.
John, your response?
I think there's a lot of posturing going on. I think that President Trump has a different style than a lot of leaders have in the past. But I think the summit going into Singapore is historic from the standpoint that this is the first time that a sitting U.S. president going to meet with a North Korean leader, and I think that while there could be different language choices used by some of the advisors, I think that it's posturing going into that meeting.
Yeah, and of course, that's exactly what the political world is focusing on right now in Singapore. President Trump is set to speak with North Korean leader Kim Jong tomorrow, and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham says the goal is to eliminate their nuclear missile program in a win-win fashion. Take a listen.
There's three outcomes here. Peace, where we have a win-win solution. Military force, where we devastate the North Korean regime and stop their program by force, or to capitulate like we've done in the past, and Donald Trump is not going to capitulate. So there's really only two options, peace or war.
John, we'll start with you.
I'm really excited about the opportunity of that the summit brings. I actually have a personal connection to Singapore. My wife is from Singapore, and I've got my in-laws in town who are both Singaporean citizens. And so we're watching it and all the coverage and looking at all the sites that we know so well. But I think this is an important moment on the world stage and on the national stage. And I think President Trump has a real opportunity to set himself apart as a foreign policy leader. This is really the first opportunity I think that he has for a really successful outcome potentially, and so I think a lot's riding on it, and very optimistic about what it could hold.
I think this is a miscalculation heading right into this summit. North Korea is not going to give up their nuclear arms. They realize, they've seen what happens to other countries, like Libya, didn't have nuclear weapons, and of course that Gaddafi was deposed and ultimately executed. They realize if they give up their nuclear weapons, they are vulnerable to being deposed, to coups. So we're heading into a miscalculation right from the very beginning, because they are not going to give up these weapons that protect them on a daily basis.
Do you guys agree with Lindsey Graham? Peace or war, flat out, nothing else in the middle?
That's not a good...
It's not. You think about that, it's a thought process. On one extreme, you really don't want to think about. The other extreme, it does become historic. But is it peace or war for you guys?
So if they do not give up their nuclear arms, we have to go to war? Is that what we're saying? It's like, if this summit doesn't work, right? We have to be prepared to invade their country. That's not a good, diplomacy, there's always that gray area. There's always that middle ground that you want to strive for, and these black and white statements harm more than they help.
I think there's a time and place for ultimatums. I'm not sure that this is the time and place, and I think that we need to rely upon the intelligence community to say, the only time I think that you would go to war is if there is an imminent threat, and I don't know that we've seen that at this moment, and so I don't think that this is the right time or place to say peace or war.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Stopping by. We've got a break. Kelly's got another look at your forecast right after this.